What is happening, everybody? As promised, I'm back Thursday morning for me for another show. Um, Today, this is a topic that I've wanted to get into for a long time, and I haven't. I was saving it for a while back when I was doing these streams 2 times a week or more. I was saving this particular topic, this particular episode. I was going to have guests on for it, but I have just decided now's the right time to start kickstarting my live streams again, and I'm going to deep dive into this topic today. And the topic, if you can't tell from the YouTube thumbnail, is Rich Froning and how he has shaped what the CrossFit Games are today. And you might say, "Oh, that's obvious. He was, four-time champion. Everyone started following Rich. Everyone looked at every single thing he did, and he was the poster boy to make CrossFit famous, or the CrossFit Games famous." Well, there's more to it than that, and I think we have to start back before Rich competed to get into it. And we will do that all in a second here. Good morning. How are you? So we'll get into a little bit of the past. We're going to do one of my classic shows where I would play some old videos. So let's get something pulled up. Just take a look, and then we'll talk about it here for a second before we get too far into Rich. And today I'm going to show you the most consequential video CrossFit has ever made and released in terms of how it shaped the future. So give me 1 second here. Let me pull up. Some of you guys might recognize this. The max snatch on the 2009 CrossFit Games. So this is the third year of the CrossFit Games ever. It's still in Aromas in the dirt. And we'll watch a few minutes of this.
I pushed the bar or not yet? Hey, Mom.
I'm Jason's mom. Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
You're proud, Mom?
I'm a proud mom. I'm so proud of Jason. He's my best buddy.
So this is how I still always like to think of the CrossFit Games. This in the dirt, raw, gritty, throw down. Your family's all there. Like it's like a festival versus the very polished competitions we're used to today. And of course, everything needs to evolve, right? So it was always going to be this polished competition that we see today, even though things are still always changing within the sport, how it runs, everything else like that. But this really appeals to me, just the dirty, gritty setup, the rawness of it. All right, so here we go. I don't know if this is the top men's heat. This is one of the men's heats, finding their max snatch back in 2009. Kalipa with 205, Peter Edgid, Jeremy Teal, Pat Burke, whole bunch of old school names. There's Miko, but their weights they're struggling. You notice no one is doing a real good job pulling under to the bottom of that snatch. That's actually decent. But a lot of power snatches, a lot of sloppy power snatches, a lot of just trying to use whatever strength they have to get the bar up. James Fitzgerald, 2007 champion. These numbers are obviously not impressive, right? That's the point I'm making. So 2009, and any weightlifter who sees this would get a little chuckle out of this, right? It's just not that crazy. And so if someone does snatch 225 or more, it's like, oh my God, how strong are they? And if you were in an affiliate at that time doing that, you would be, everyone in town would know about you. That goes to a different CrossFit affiliate. But okay, so you get the point, right? 2009, things are still very, very, very raw. If you fast forward to like what we see today, I guess I could pull up, I'm not going to, but today, all right, you know what? I will do it. You're going to keep watching this while I pull something up here.
James Fitzgerald, 165.
So you go from this rawness to what we see just last week at Mayhem.
Reps moves well. It's cool to see.
Just take a minute to appreciate how well everyone's moving here. I just picked a random clip, by the way. I'm not jumping on the
Yeah.
Kale
When does the
Layman
race start,
beat down train. I'm just
Once they get past that 20 and they're in those 25 to 30,
showing some of the better male athletes. Just again, this is not the games. This is
you're kind of doing your game plan. You do want to stick.
This is an invitational, a qualifier event after the Open,
maybe 1 every 10 or 15
and
seconds
they're all
there.
snatching 225 over and over and over again. And in the last clip from 2009, I don't think we had a single person snatching 225 in that. I don't think. Maybe Jason hit it. I don't know. So the evolution is quite crazy. Extra sloppy. Hey, is that not impressive? Those guys lift more than me now. Yeah, 2009 guys are still way stronger than me today too, but I don't think Sloppy and I are going to the CrossFit Games anytime soon. We're more so talking about the elite level competition here and the evolution of how we got here. Because realistically, it's a short amount of time, 2009 to 2025, 15, 16 years. That's not that long of a time to see the sport evolve in a crazy way. If you look at other professional sports, yeah, of course, the competition's always got better over the years. Athletes have got better, but not at this rate. The field did not grow at the rate we're seeing here. All right. So you get my point. This is where I'm going with this. From 2009 to here, the field completely changed. And how did that happen? Well, it all happened. Most of it happened due to Rich Froning. The obsession athletes had about Rich after 2011 was crazy. Basically, it was all eyes on Rich in terms of how to prepare for the CrossFit Games. And if you didn't go back and watch some of the media that was produced about Rich, I'm going to show you, like I said, in a second here. I'll show you one more video before we get to the real meat and potatoes of today's show. This is an important video. I'm going to play it all the way through. It's only 3 minutes long. Very important video. Because this really highlights the state of mind athletes were in as the sport was starting to come into its own. This is after the 2012 CrossFit Games year. It's called How Do You Beat Rich Froning? You'll recognize a lot of people on here. Oh. Sorry. Now you'll see it.
How do you beat Rich Froning?
How do you beat Rich Froning?
To beat Rich, I have to go out there and perform.
I've been talking about this with Graham like every day. Is how we gonna beat Rich? And I don't know. Nobody's figured it out yet.
We're all
you'll see that in a second, Corey.
To beat Rich Froning, you got to be well-rounded. Can't make any mistakes at all. You got to pour your heart out. I can't worry about Rich. I just have to worry about me and getting my job done.
I think if you're gonna,
he's in a video about beating Rich Froning.
How do you beat Rich Froning? Anybody can beat Rich Froning. It's just, you got to want it. I don't know.
You got to go in there and you got to do everything right. He's going to do everything right.
Rich has a lot of pressure on him, and I think any athlete in his shoes would feel the same way to have to three-peat, and that's not a fun place to be.
Tell you a little secret. On Jason Khalifa's wall in the middle of his garage, it says, "What is Rich doing?"
So that's pretty funny. This encapsulates exactly what was happening at this time. The sport was just starting to take off thanks to some of the bigger names and some of the bigger personalities. Of course, the biggest and best without question being Rich. And everybody else around was seeing what was happening with Rich and wanted to get a shot at the champ. And the question of how to be Rich was a mystery. If you look back again at the 2009 games and you think about how athletes were training before they signed up essentially to go compete at the games, they were doing a lot of .com or a lot of just like one and done training in their affiliate, or maybe, they may have done a second piece some days, or maybe they didn't go 3 on 2 off or 3 on 1 off or whatever style that they did. Like maybe they added a little bit more than .com, maybe a little skill work, whatever. But training was minimal. Training for those guys in CrossFit back then was what you would see in a normal affiliate today. 60 minutes of work a day, getting better. And don't get me wrong, that's all the overwhelming 99.99% of the population needed to get fit and push it. But at a certain point, you're looking for the edge, right? You're looking for the edge against your competitors. And so training had to ramp up a little bit. But this was a brand new situation. No one knew what competitive training looked like. No one knew how much to do or what to do. All they saw was that Rich started winning in dominant fashion. So everyone was thinking, what's he doing? What can I do that will help me keep up with him?
We were training in my garage a couple times.
And I'm going to show you what happened with that.
Because I didn't want it to get all awkward, He was at my house and we were going to compete the next day in the open workout. We had already done like 3 workouts that day. We had pulled the sled a mile in front of my house, done a bunch of shit, right? We just got done having a dinner with our wives. I hear the garage open. I'm like, what's happening in there? It's him front squatting a couple 100 pounds multiple times. I'm just looking, I'm like, really?
More, always
gifted.
more.
He's built for this stuff, and he works tremendously hard. You may not see another Rich Froning for like another 100 years when his time's come and gone.
We're all thinking that, but here's the thing about that. I think about what Rich is doing. I think about what Jason is doing. I think about what Spiel is doing. I think about, whoever. And what goes through my mindset is, am I doing everything that I need to do?
Yeah, I got to beat Rich, but I got to beat everybody else too.
I don't know that he really has any weaknesses, per se.
Look at that, no hesitation at all. He jumped up and he's instantly...
Froning now, your leader. The time to beat, no problem. The event...
So like even looking at this, I think this was 2012 regionals, I believe, maybe 2011. I think it's 2012. Yeah, 12, I'm pretty sure. This is only 3 years after we just watched a clip of the dude snatching in 2009 in Aromas with questionable technique. Even if you go back and watch those workouts, things are super sloppy. Things like the pull-ups, the muscle-ups, they just don't have anything really dialed in yet. This is only a couple years later, and Rich is on the scene dominating. And one of the biggest ways he's doing it is just by his movement efficiency and I mean his capacity too. But we'll get into that in a second here.
And how do you beat Josh Bridges? How do you beat Scott Panchik? You just beat him. There's no strategy. You just beat him.
Now, if that wouldn't get you fired up for a CrossFit Games season, I can't help you. So, we have one video left, and it's a long one. I'm going to jump around. And like I said earlier, this is going to be the most, in my opinion, the most consequential video ever made in the CrossFit space in general. Maybe more so than methodology videos that were put out there and coaching videos. This really grabbed a hold of a lot of people, this concept of what we're going to see here. It's one of many, maybe the first day in the life of Rich Froning. I think this is the one. This is definitely the one that Savan did. There was many of them made. It's the one that Savan did after he won the 2011 games, I believe. So it's after he won his first title, what his training looked like or what a day in his life looked like. And before this video came out, training, in my opinion, and I was in the space at this point, I was just starting to work with competitors probably a year before this. Training did not look like it looks today. I think one of the biggest things that myself as a coach, both in gym and online, that I battle is convincing people when enough's enough. Intensity over volume. We're always preaching things like that. Consistency and movement mechanics over intent. Like CrossFit's laid the model out, right? Mechanics, consistency, intensity. Volume is not even listed on that because volume is not something that in typical CrossFit fashion that we're concerned with. But it's something that became a major part of what's happening in CrossFit, in the games anyway, to compete, to go after Rich, to be the best, to be competitive, to win at any level. In this video, Savan and Rich basically convinced everybody in the CrossFit space that more is better. And I'll show you why. Got to remember, not everyone's Rich Froning, right? All right, we'll kick it off. We'll let it play. I'm going to jump around a good bit, but if you have never seen the day in the life of Rich Froning, the full video, it's about an hour long, you should. I have it on 1.5x when we watch, just because I'm only going to be on for another 20, 30 minutes, so we're going to try to find our clips we want to watch.
We always talk about Eminem. You heard the Bad Meets Evil CD yet? Easy way.
So Rich was a coach at Tennessee Tech back in the day there. All right, here we go. So first session, 20 minutes on the assault bike, airdyne, whatever he has there. I'm going to keep the volume low just because there's so much crazy background music. But I guess I just want you guys to pay attention to how many workouts we're going to see. I think he follows them over like 2.5 days. And we're going to see just over and over and over again. So he already spent 20 minutes on the bike. Now he just rode 4,500 meters. And then 15 sets on the minute of 3 muscle ups in a vest.
In 7 minutes, climb the ladder. 1 bench, 1 power clean, 205.
And then an EMOM of bench press and power cleans. So he's already done 4 pieces. We're 3 minutes into this video. He's already 4 training pieces in. Oh, sorry. And that's before lunchtime. At lunchtime, he did deadlift and sled pushes. That's 5. Oh, sorry. We're still going. Okay. At lunchtime, we're also doing 15 sets of push press and kettlebell swings. Or, sorry, 15 reps.
Yep. 88 right here.
So I already lost count. That's 5 or 6 workouts by lunchtime in the first day. Okay, 5 or 6 workouts by lunchtime. This is right after he won the games for the first time. So we're talking either end of 2011 or early 2012, something like that. Already completely different than anything you're seeing out there. At this point in time in the competitive CrossFit space, there are competitive programs out there. Like, let's see. There was Outlaw. Outlaw was probably the most well-known early on. Invictus was out back then. People were taking workouts from CrossFit New England. There was no Built by Bergeron or Comp Train or anything like that. That did not exist yet. So they were just taking basically affiliate workouts from well-known gyms. Obviously, my company Misfit was around back then, just getting started. What else? You guys in the chat, if you can think of any other competitive companies like CrossFit companies that were out back then, my brain is drawing a blank. But the point is there were not that many of them, right? People only had a few places they could look for to get to find training, because nobody knew how to program to any length. People were fine with programming for their affiliates, 1 workout a day. It's pretty easy to balance and stay varied, and that's pretty easy. But when you're at the point now where like Rich has already jammed in 6 pieces into the first half of his day, 6 workouts already. And even from like my perspective, I've been CrossFitting. I'm not a competitive athlete by any means. I'm just a guy that goes to an affiliate basically in terms of level of fitness. But any one of those workouts would be my entire workout of the day. That's all I need. One of those 20-minute, every other minute things he did, I would be crushed after that. I'd be done. But he's on workout 6 already at lunchtime in 2011. I can't emphasize this enough. This is 14 years ago. This is mind-blowing volume that people have never even discussed, talked about, debated whether it was healthy or not, good or not. This is like out of this world.
Seat of my pants. No.
He just asked him how he
So, yeah.
programs, and Rich said by the seat of his pants. So he is just.
Some type of press Tuesday, some type of deadlift.
Here's his little format.
Wednesday, another press on Thursday.
But he's just flowing with it.
Friday. So follow that pretty tight. Try to clean heavy.
And he did this for years and years and years. Come up with stuff every day on a whiteboard, and that's just what he did for training.
And you just set a PR in your snatch?
Yep, 275. So good.
And so there you go. He's snatching 275 back in, again, 2011, 2012, whatever this actually came out. All right, the next day. So we got those 6 pieces he explained by lunchtime for the prior day. Who knows if he did an evening session? They didn't talk about it. The next day, this is supposed to be the first day, the start of the day in the life.
Wait a minute. How long have you been out here?
About an hour.
So he doesn't wait for Savon. He just gets started without him.
I know I screwed that up.
I get here at 9 a.m. You're already fucking working out.
So you last left him in a garage working out. You come back, still in a garage working out the next day. So he already did his rowing intervals. Now he's doing squat cleans on the minute. Again, this is 9 a.m. already. He's on piece number 2 after doing 6+ pieces the day prior.
Did you eat yet? How many calories do you think were in that?
I don't know. Look at it. Whole milk and then 2 scoops of Synthesis chocolate peanut butter. It's pretty good.
That's a cute
So
pup.
you basically trust your intuition. You trust your programming is just all trust on your own self-awareness.
Pretty much, yeah.
But there's no official coach, Rich Froning coach.
Nope. Right now it's Rich Froning and Dan Bailey just bouncing ideas off each other.
Don, yeah, Invictus, OPEX, yeah. OPEX might have been a thing then.
All right.
Yeah, I think you named pretty much all of them, and then us at Misfit. Yeah, that was about it then. Yeah, Rich kind of did invent the EMOM. He did so much of it. Maybe that was the secret to balancing his volume.
He said, how similar is our programming? I said, right now it's...
So he's training with Dan Bailey back then at Tennessee Tech for some of it. Let's skip ahead here. Let's get to some good stuff. So they're working out. They're benching, right? So that's at least piece number 3 already for Rich today.
For the large volume of training,
2 of them being lifts.
You need to eat a lot of calories. You can't get a lot of calories out of broccoli. Out of time, or if I don't do exactly what I plan to do, it stresses me out. I feel like I think that's when I get overtrained, is when I'm thinking about it too much. When I just do whatever, like we just like on a fly, make something up, so much better than if I actually plan something out and do it, because then it just, like I said, stresses me out if I don't get it done.
Stand background music. All right, handstand walks. I don't know what the workout is, but that's at least his 4th little thing he's doing today.
Yeah.
All right, steroid question. Of course, people always wonder this about people who could handle this kind of volume.
It used to bother me, and then I'm like, why? Those people are going to think what they want, and I know for a fact, I would take a piss test every day if they would let me. I would have no problem doing that. So it's like, it's frustrating, of course, because people want to take that away from me, but I know the truth. Everybody else around me knows the truth, so.
What do you guys think? You think Rich ever used steroids? I personally think he never did. I don't think he did. I think he just fell into the sweet spot of training. It was so far advanced in terms of the way he moved, particularly a barbell and some of the gymnastics. His efficiency was just elite compared to his peers. And so that made some things look effortless, made his lifts, he was able to train his lifts to heavier points faster, probably able to recover better because he moved better. Rich is a man of God, so no steroids. I didn't know there was a correlation between religion and steroids. Is that like a thing in the Bible? If you love God, you cannot take performance enhancing drugs. Yeah, he's working a job at this time. Yep. Again, this was kind of the right after his breakout year. So he had his own little garage he's working out in. But yeah, he was coaching at Tennessee Tech until this CrossFit thing took off to the point that he obviously couldn't anymore. Look at this. No one thinks Rich did steroids. Me neither. Oh, I see. No, there's no correlation between steroids and God, but he'd be lying. And so it's more like you wouldn't lie because you're a man of God. I see. I see what you're saying there, Slater. Oh no, John. I know people in my church who are roided up. Well, maybe they're going to church to repent. Maybe that's the point. They're lying to themselves and others, and so they have to show up every time. Ooh, Clock thinks he did steroids. Look at him in 14. Yeah, he definitely got bulky. Is 14 the year of that photo? And if you know what I'm saying with that photo, with him, Khalipa, and Matt Chan by the pool, that makes those guys look like literal gods. But yeah, they bulked up. A lot of people did. Wasn't he a firefighter? I think he was, yeah, for some time. I don't know if he was like a full-time or like a reserve thing. Yeah. I'm not a Christian, Aaron, and I don't know if Christians say they're perfect, but yeah, they make mistakes, and then I think they're supposed to go to church and repent or whatever they do. Yeah, the pool pick is iconic. Yeah, no doubt, Clock, that he definitely bulked up, but a lot of people did. A lot of people got bigger, but that could just also be a result of his consistent training. If his life really revolves around training, which you can already see it's starting to here. It's night, midday, and morning. I said that backwards. I don't know why. But his whole day has revolved around squeezing in this piece, that piece, this piece, that piece. And if he's actually fueling himself, actually finding ways to recover and being consistent, and he's taking enough calories, he's going to gain some muscle, right? And so it's not like, I don't think, maybe unless you're saying there's some massive blow up he had from between 2013 and 14 where he put on 15 pounds of muscle overnight, but I don't remember seeing anything like that. It seemed like he just had consistent growth in the sport. But hey, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak positively about anything. The only person who really knows is Rich, right? None of us know for sure. Fraser was too thick too. It's suspicious how much Fraser shriveled up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not accusing Matt of taking performance enhancing drugs either. I'm not accusing anybody of doing it because there's no proof of that whatsoever. The only thing about Matt wasn't even his size. It's either he used something or he was really the craziest freak of all time. When you look at, it's funny, me and Jamie Hagia were talking about this at the gym last night. I don't know how this came up, but Matt's jump from finishing at the games one year, basically dead last in a sprint event, to the next year winning the sprint across the field. That's the infamous clip you see of him running, and Marston Sawyer's running on the sideline with a camera filming him as he's sprinting. But Matt went from basically last to first in a sprint event in 1 year of training. Those sort of things more so to me are like, how? And again, he just may have had it going on. Like he just had all the gifts, all the tools. He just had to unlock them. I don't know. But yeah, Matt had more like, whoa, like warning signs, I think, than Froning ever did. Froning just consistently got better over the years and was just staying ahead of his peers the whole time, learning more tricks, being able to handle volume better, being able to, he just, and the thing about Rich too, is he was the most well-rounded, probably, with the exception if you want to poke holes in his running, which never seemed to get much better. He was the most well-rounded because at the CrossFit Games every year, he would not always just be in first place throughout the games, right? So Rich would have bumps in the road on Thursday, Friday, maybe something doesn't go right on Saturday. But Sunday, traditionally, when Rich was competing, the way the CrossFit Games were programmed was Sunday was basically CrossFit Day. So there was a lot of like single events where you have one thing you're testing, like a sprint or like a heavy lift or whatever early on. And then on Sunday, traditionally, it was 3 or 4 events of CrossFit style workouts, couplets, triplets, things like that. A lot of times in that tennis stadium in LA and all that. And when those events came out, Rich basically was getting 100 points an event each time. He was almost clean sweeping these CrossFit events on Sunday. So if you didn't have a 200-point lead on Rich going into Sunday, you basically had no chance to beat him. So it wasn't like Rich wasn't having the dominating wins necessarily that we've seen Matt and Tia have over the years, where they were winning by like 200, 300, 400 points, just completely crushing. Rich was just getting it done. He was winning soundly, but he still had stuff that he wasn't great at. All right, the comments are getting crazy. I gotta start getting into some of these. Okay, Mason agrees with Clock that yeah, well, I don't know who you're agreeing with actually. Oh, I guess Clock, but talking about Matt maybe. YouTube user, nice name. Nope, he's never been out of proportion. Traps and lats will show use first. So I don't know if you're talking about Matt or Rich, but you're defending steroid use. Yeah, I don't think people were necessarily using either. Marston did win that sprint event. Yes, you are correct. That's an iconic video. I'll have to pull that up some other time. Mason, everyone was training like shit back then. Relatively easy to make those leaps back then with real endurance focused training. Yeah, and you could also, I mean, we're talking about Rich today in particular. Absolutely, Rich was kind of ahead, way ahead of the game and all that stuff. Except he didn't really incorporate running, as we'll see in this video, as much as maybe he could have to really elevate things. Whereas the next heir to Rich's throne, Matt, definitely had a better balance of everything. And also, even though the sport had evolved because of Rich when Matt got there, Matt was still able to progress it even more. If Mars wasn't carrying that camera, he smokes the whole field. Yeah, it certainly appeared that way. But I to be fair, I think that was like a down and back sprint right in that field. It was down and back once, or it was kind of like a long, like suicide style sprint. I think Marston just kind of picked up the action from one side of the end. So those guys had already been running, and then Marston hammered from one end to the other to the finish. Maybe he ran the whole thing. I actually can't remember that, but yeah, that was incredible. Slater, I told you Rich was a man of God. No wonder why he flourished on Sunday. There you go. Maybe there's something to that. That's funny. My good friend Andy Hurley. What's up, dude? Thanks for tuning into the show. All right, let's get back to it. We'll move past the steroid issue here. Again, I don't think Rich ever touched that stuff. I don't believe it at all. He's going to make an interesting comment, though, here in a second that
I know of. I don't have.
We'll move past this in a second.
Or like, my foot hasn't gotten any bigger. If anything, it's shrunk. My head's the same size as it was in high school. I don't know. Do you have any of those weird veins like snakes?
So let's just recap. I think Rich has done that. They've showed 4 pieces already today. 4 training pieces. Good mix of things too. Rowing intervals, a couple different lifts, and some skill work, gymnastic skill work. So already a really intelligent mix of training.
Once I get moving around, I'm fine. It's just like, I don't know. I think overtraining is mostly psychological more than physical.
Okay. Oops.
If,
what have I done?
Plan, I just go throughout the day. I feel great. If I have a plan.
Okay, so he just said, I think overtraining is probably more psychological than physical. So he says if he kind of has a plan, flows through it, he feels great. He basically pushes his training throughout the entire day. That's an interesting concept. Overtraining, psychological more so than physical. So there's definitely a balance of that happening. We see that today. We see people who are getting completely burned out in the sport. I'm sure it has something to do with their body too, getting burned out, but completely burned out mentally from training day in and day out. This just got me thinking. I wonder if because Rich really had his freedom, so to speak, to program for himself, he literally, he had some friends he trained with that like probably gave him advice when they were working out together. But for the most part, Rich is writing what Rich wants to do, right? So he's not stressing about having to meet this certain standard or these expectations that a coach is setting for him. He's basically coaching himself through a lot of this. And even though he's doing a ton of volume, he's not stressed about it because he can pivot. He could do one less piece, one extra piece if he's feeling good. He's kind of taken the reins completely to allow himself to make sure he keeps feeling good. And when you do that, you're minimizing your stress, the mental stress that comes with it, which can, I would imagine, help you recover faster if you're not adding stress to yourself and your body. And your nervous system and everything else, you should be able to recover from what you're doing more efficiently, right? So as opposed to today, a lot of these high level athletes, if not all of them, with the exception of maybe a small handful, all have coaches. And these coaches all write extensive programs. I do think overtraining is a big problem in our sport today. It's sort of like those who are gifted or have the most amount of time and resources can survive these extensive, crazy long training days that all these high level competitors have to do now because that's been the standard that's been forced upon the sport. Thanks to Rich. He didn't know what the Pandora's box he was opening. He can't close it now. And so again, you just see burnout from a lot of athletes that don't tolerate the stress over and over again. While they don't tolerate the ability, they don't have forgiveness for themselves of coming up short. If I'm someone's coach and I have them do 5 pieces in a training day, which that would only be for somebody who's at the tippy top of being elite, and they come back and they say, oh, I just felt beat up. I only did 3 today, and now they're feeling bad about themselves for not being able to do it all. They're feeling like they're getting outworked by their peers. They're feeling like they're letting me down. They feel like maybe they're not good enough. They have all these doubts. And if that starts to build over days and weeks and months of training, because that's the expectation that's set for them, that is super psychologically damaging. And that will lead to that burnout that I think a lot of people are seeing now, whereas Rich is just flowing with it. So if he's feeling beat up, he doesn't have to be overtrained because he can just he can rest if he wants to. He's in total control. I hope that makes sense for people. Yeah, Corey, the mind-body connection is undervalued as a thing. People want to push through when they should pull back. And exactly right. And not that I'm trying to plug my own training, but you can subscribe below with that QR code. But that's exactly what when I left training high-level competitors after a decade of working with games athletes year after year, I was like, enough's enough. I've seen like the peripheral damage I've done to people around who are trying to keep up because they feel like that's the standard set. That's what they have to do. So, now I'm like just dead set on, hey, 90 minutes. You may not even survive this. I'll give you 2 or 3 hard pieces in 90 minutes a day. If you can prioritize this and your habits outside of the gym, you will get fitter, a lot fitter, and you will be able to compete. Now, maybe, your lifestyle doesn't support the level of training that gets you to the CrossFit Games, but that's everybody except for 30 or 40 people, right? So, yeah, I think it was just kind of I think people didn't see the whole picture of how Rich was able to balance his life and do this. And this hit the internet, and everybody who was asking, what is Rich doing, saw what Rich is doing and created this unbelievably powerful snowball effect that really just changed the way people viewed and trained CrossFit forever. It made our sport really interesting because it forced those who are really fit to step up, elevate their game to be able to stay competitive. But boy, did it create a separation between what a games level athlete is and what an affiliate member should be doing, or a regular general population person should be doing for their health and fitness. Let's keep going.
When I miss something or don't have time to do it, it stresses me out. How old are you? 24.
I made little notes, things I want to check. Okay. So he's done at Tennessee Tech. Again, they showed us four things he did at Tennessee Tech. He may have done more. Who knows? So now he's done work. So he's going to visit his cousin, who was a pretty damn good competitor himself back in the day.
Yeah, don't. I get nervous. Can you do a little workout, Darren? What do you want to do? I'm going to do some power cleans first. After that, we'll come up with something.
So if I'm not mistaken, this is the same day. Savan opened the garage to him doing squat cleans in the morning, and in the evening, Rich is doing power cleans. This is at least piece number 5 of the day.
I wouldn't say no, not at all. Less motivated or less driven. But we'll talk about it as much.
I'm gonna turn the volume down, just let Rich do his thing, and I'll address some comments here. Aaron Frazier, to build that volume, you have to train a lot. Once you get there, you can pull back. Like look at Scott Panchak. Yeah, exactly. You do have to train a lot to build capacity. You have to do a lot really well too. Your body has to be able to tolerate it. You have to be able to recover from it. You can't. Let's look at it this way. The regular person who might go to their affiliate all the time, they show up, they do their 5 to 15-minute workout. They do a lift a few times a week. They're consistent. They're getting fit. They're reasonably healthy. Like life is good. And then Murph comes around and they get completely trashed because the volume of Murph compared to what they're doing is so much higher. So slowly you have to build that volume. And it's okay to do that once in a while, by the way. I'm not saying people shouldn't do Murph or whatever. What I'm saying is to be able to tolerate something like Murph, which we've seen in the CrossFit Games a number of times, recover, and within a couple hours do another event, recover, in a couple hours do another event. You have to be doing that volume building up so that something like Murph is just another training piece. All those reps are just not a big deal. More money, more problems.
Yeah, but you said earlier it's not about the money. The way it is about the money is I can keep doing what I love.
Corey Leonard, that's quite literally how I train currently, trying to be a competitive masters athlete. 1 to 2 pieces in the morning, same in the afternoon. Prioritize recovery and fuel in the meantime. Yeah, I don't think that's outrageous, especially if you're flexible with yourself in terms of how you feel. I just think that that's one of the biggest things that's lacking with athletes who want to be competitive at any level is flexibility, and not in the sense that their body's not flexible, which is a problem too, but their mind is not flexible in terms of listening. Hey, I'm feeling beat from the last couple of days. I do need to get some of this in, but maybe instead of doing 2 pieces in the morning, I'm going to do 1, prioritize the thing that's going to give me the most bang for my buck. And then I'll come back and think about maybe doing another piece in the afternoon. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just doing a nice slow biker piece where I'm just flushing some waste out, getting some blood pumping, kickstarting my recovery. You just have to be willing to to be flexible. Yeah. If I ain't feeling it, I ain't doing it. Yeah, good man. That's smart. And obviously there's a balance there too, right? You can't just justify not doing it over and over again because you're always sore or always tired. But if that's actually how you're feeling, you need to take a hard look at your program in general. All right, we'll keep going here. Got a few more minutes. We're going to chat about this. I think I've made my point so far though with what's going on. Okay.
Soft? Is that what you're saying? I think I went 5 on the minute.
So here's what he did for his power cleans. Again, I think this is piece number 5 for today after the previous day of doing 5 or 6 pieces. Yeah, you get it. Let's see. Oh, and if you thought he was done, they ain't done. They're not done. They got muscle ups, weighted muscle ups with a med ball and box jumps. Again, nothing crazy volume here. 21 muscle ups and a handful of box jumps each round. A little explosive work and some, well, I would say strict, but he doesn't really do them strict at all. But weighted muscle ups. And I think 2 days prior, I think he showed earlier in this video that he had done muscle ups in a weight vest as well. So he's prioritizing movements from the games that he expects to see tested, and variations of them he expects to see over and over again too. So he's really training for the CrossFit Games, which, duh, no kidding. All right, so that's 6 or 7 pieces for the day. Let's see. We'll keep going here. What else we got? All right, I think that's the next day. Oh, let's start here. Let's get it all in. All right, piece number 1, he did deadlifts and something. This is the next day again. Deadlifts and something, then some rowing intervals. He really likes rowing intervals. He's done that at least twice out of the 3 days we've been looking at. Let's see if they keep showing stuff. I think he does some snatches or something. Yeah. Then he does some touch and go snatches. Piece number 3. All right, we're going to wrap up here in a minute. I think I've made my point here.
No, I mean, it's been great. A lot better than the year before finishing second. So, I mean, to be that close and to lose it and, come back to the next year and win it, it's a pretty good feeling. So, has a little fuel to the fire.
Are you bossy? Are you a bossy person?
I think so. I joke around being bossy, but I don't think I'm really bossy. I'm getting angry.
So he's already worked out. Now he's bugging Dan and Easy in the office.
These guys are sitting on their computers.
And he wants to do more.
Wolverine.
It's like every 2 hours he has to do something. It seems like.
We've done this week.
So what do? They go play catch. But what happens when you're Rich Froning and you go to you want to do something active and you go play catch? Oh, no, can't just play catch. Got to bust out the sled and do sled sprints across the field, which awesome training, but damn, have you ever done that and then felt your hamstrings the next 2 days? Unless you're Dan or Rich, they're going to be lit up. Again, I'm going to count that as another training piece. Maybe that was 4 or 5 for the day. Oh, wait, they're not done. They're front squatting. They just keep going. Okay. I think I've made my point here, right? So, like I said, I think this video single-handedly was the fuse. This video lit the fuse that exploded competitive training for the CrossFit Games. I don't think anybody had any concept of how much he was doing. Maybe there was rumblings about it back then. But until this video came out, when someone was like, oh my God, another piece. How am I supposed to outwork Rich Froning? He already has more skills than me. He already moves better than me. He's handling volume. His life is set up to be able to support this amount of work, clearly. He's got a freaking milk machine in his gym. He just drinks milk all day to get his calories in. What was somebody supposed to do back then? What were you supposed to do to be able to get an edge on him? Shy of taking PEDs, which I'm sure people started doing that more after seeing this. I'm not saying Rich did it. I'm saying others to try to catch Rich. What were you supposed to do? And so this just started the idea of what a template or an outline of competitive elite CrossFit training would look like. And it became that volume was everything. And so for the last decade, we've seen programs from all different coaches, all different companies of 2-a-days with three parts in each session, 6 parts a day. Just relentless with the training. And when that stuff becomes templates, when it becomes templates for athletes to follow, the problem is, and they're not, like we talked about this earlier, and they're not giving themselves the flexibility to pivot as needed. You just end up beating up the overwhelming majority of athletes. You just end up crushing 95+% of them that follow those programs because they are not set up to do this. They are not Rich Froning. And so for the last decade plus, we've had years and years and years of an overtraining problem in the competitive space because of this video. I'm not faulting Rich. It was actually really nice of Rich to show people what he was doing. He, as the champ, he didn't have to let anyone in on what was working for him. Maybe this was part of his plan. Maybe he knew no one could keep up with him, and so he wanted to crush everybody that wanted to try. But this video did it. This video changed everything. And Rich, he's kind of a junkie. Yeah. There are a lot of workout junkies like Rich now. I just don't know that many that handle it the way Rich did. But Rich has paid the price now, right? Rich has had a bunch of knee surgeries. He's not a big fan of squatting from what I can tell anymore. I mean, the price was well worth it. From everything I can see, it looks like he's going to be probably the face of CrossFit again in a very meaningful way here in the near future, which I'm all for. I think he should help lead the sport in a strong direction. And I think they did an awesome job at their invitational recently. I mean, I have nothing to fault the guy on. Aaron Fraser, you have a milk machine in your house now too. I think he's referring to my wife, but yeah, I don't get any of that milk. That's for the baby only. But yes, that's a funny point. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there for today. This was a good one, almost 50 minutes. Oh yeah. Corey Leonard. No one today would do this. Can you imagine Fraser or Justin or any of the recent champs doing a video like this now? No, they would not show you the intimate details of their training now. Absolutely not. Even if, they just wouldn't do it, or they would mislead you a little bit. They'd put on a show. They'd it wouldn't be honest, I don't think. They'd either say no or it wouldn't be a true representation of what they're doing. Even though, again, you can put it out there and I don't think it's that valuable. Like people know, I'm not going to get into this too far, but people know how to program for competitive athletes now. They're all the same. They're all these high-level CrossFit programs are all the same when it comes down to it. They may look a little different or they may feel slightly different structure, but at the end of the day, it's the same movements, similar volume, same. It's just the same. These early docs were legendary. CrossFit media was amazing back then. It was like the Real World of the 90s. Yeah, the Real World. That was a fun show. If you just go back through, especially this time frame between 2011 and 2014 to 15, you're going to find just incredible stuff. So much of it. There's like 50 more videos about Rich doing, behind the scenes Rich Froning stuff beyond this if you go digging through the old CrossFit Games archives. Great stuff said. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Mason. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm taking off for now, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. 33 people. This may be one of my biggest streams ever. So thank you guys all for watching. I hope you learned a valuable lesson today about more is not better. Even if you're an elite athlete, more is not better. It may have worked for Rich, but given Rich's circumstances, it will only work for people in similar circumstances. Just be smart about your training and your volume, and be flexible with yourself. Okay, if something's not feeling right, if you're not feeling like you have the energy, don't do it. Don't do it. Put it off for another day, or focus on something you can work on. So, thanks again, guys, and I will be back next Thursday right around the same time for another show. See ya.